Good afternoon to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here with your off-season edition of the Hurricane Outlook and Discussion. Another one for this week, the second one. Why? Well, there's a few things I want to update you on. This is the edition for May 18th, 2017. First thing I want to draw your attention to is the SOI. Today's contributor up to 10.74, but more importantly, the 30 and 90-day numbers are also starting to rise as the pressure pattern across the tropical Pacific is evolving, and this is allowing the SOI to come up somewhat. And like I talked about the other day, that is just going to delay the onset of any potential push for a warm INSO event. In other words, the El Nino is going to be delayed, if not completely denied, especially through the hurricane season ahead. And the pressure pattern that I'm talking about generally favors stronger trade winds across the tropical Pacific here, in varying degrees of strength there. The bottom line is we are not seeing a reverse of those trades coming this way, or a complete relaxation that's allowing the Pacific equatorial region to significantly warm. And as we can see, I get back here to the zoomed in portion of the map, the latest update on the sea surface temperature anomalies which came out today, it's a little warmer than it should be over here in the eastern Pacific, closer to South America and the Galapagos islands here, but the Nino 3-4 area out through this area, still holding on to warm neutral, if you will. It's not warming up. And in fact, you can see this little ribbon of yellow stretching through here. And, that tells me that the overall pattern still does not support the formation of an El Nino event. And in fact, if we look at the subsurface, this updated recently as well. And this too shows, even though that we have this large area, the bullseye is still way deep in the ocean. And there's your warm anomaly in the eastern Pacific. But overall, there is a lot more in the way of just neutral conditions at the surface here. And all of this really warm water compared to average still lies quite a bit below the surface. And there's just not a mechanism to get this to bubble up and bring those sea surface temperature anomalies to very much on the positive side. And all of that basically means no El Nino for the time being, and probably not through the heart of the hurricane season either. And further sort of bolstering this argument, this great graphic here from WSI, Michael Ventris posted this the other day, Weather Services International. What is this? This looks kind of complicated. Well, the best way to understand it, here's your map that this is related to, so to speak, and this is from 5 degrees south to 5 degrees north, showing your trade wind anomalies, basically. Your 5,000-foot zonal wind anomalies, your departures from normal. And this represents the past, all of this area. This represents the future, and this is the beginning of the forecast, and in this case, from the European Ensemble System, the EPS, right? The Ensemble Prediction System. And the blues would be your increase in your trade winds. And you can see, for the forecast ahead, this covers a pretty good area of the tropical Pacific down here. And so that means that all through this region, we should see a pretty good burst of trades. In fact, we have seen that in the past few days, whereas before, these oranges and reds were indicating a weakening of the trade winds, and that allowed for some of that warming that we saw. But now we're heading into a more of a return to a normal to above normal trade wind pattern. And as Dr. Ventris said in his tweet related to it, trades for days, days and days of trade winds blowing across the tropical Pacific down here. That's what this indicates. Also, you notice that we have a pretty decent area of trade winds coming across, according to the Ensemble Prediction System anyway, for the Atlantic Basin through here. But then it slackens off again, and it's been fairly slack overall. There's not much of this dark blue since about mid-April. You see that? And that has correlated very nicely with this that I want to show you, and that is the very warm sea surface temperature anomalies that have come into play in the tropical Atlantic and off the northwest coast of Africa. So out here, the trades have been blowing pretty good in recent days, and they should continue. And over in this part of the world, the trades have relaxed a little bit, enough so that it has led to pretty substantial warming of the main development region, and that should promote a busier hurricane season than perhaps we've seen in quite some time. And a lot of the models are starting to react to that with different pressure forecasts. Everything's getting ready to come into play. It looks like the pieces are going to fit and give us a picture of a fairly busy season ahead. You never know for sure, so it's hard to say exactly what we're going to get. Of course, I can't say that. I don't know, and probably nobody knows for sure. But boy, these are certainly some interesting signs to be sure. Now, recently we've had this vigorous tropical wave kind of festering and hanging around in the Caribbean Sea. Strong upper-level winds still preside over the system, blowing across it instead of a clockwise, anticyclonic flow. That is not present, so this has not been able to really get its act together. But in the absence of organization, it has still dropped quite a bit of rainfall on parts of, all of Jamaica and parts of the Greater Antilles through here, with Haiti, the Dominican Republic, eastern Cuba, and parts of the southeast Bahamas. And in fact, I got some pictures sent in from Andre in Jamaica, and this shows you some of the flooding. And this is very, very important because there's so much emphasis placed on wind and storm surge, and that's very important, certainly, especially storm surge. But freshwater flooding seems to really get sort of misunderstood and ignored by the general public. And we're talking several inches of rain over a fairly short period of time, and this is the result. Some of these photos here from Jamaica, and even a video that he sent as well. I'm going to play this for you.
We're calling for help from this morning. We're calling the JDF. We call fire brigade. We call the police. Everybody come, but nobody cannot cross it. Nobody cannot cross the water.
Right. Nobody can cross the water. I mean, this is all from just a tropical wave, and I should, just in quotes here. This energy, not even a tropical depression. So as bad as it is for these folks down here, and I do appreciate Andre sharing this with me from various social media posts that he follows down there. You folks in Jamaica and elsewhere down here that have dealt with this, I want to use this as a learning tool and a reminder that freshwater flooding, as these pictures show and this video, is a big deal and needs to be taken very seriously, because these scenes are too often repeated in tropical cyclone events where they have a name and everybody's looking at the wind speed. Oh my goodness, it's 130 miles an hour. Or I think even worse, they say, oh, it's only 40 miles an hour. I don't have to worry about that. But then you get scenes like this that come along, and you know what people do? They try to cross this water with vehicles, or they get into the water, or the water is just too destructive on its own, and it sweeps villages and entire communities away. So as we approach hurricane season, I want you to think about water. As essential as it is to life on Earth, it can also very much be our enemy. And big thanks to Andre down in Jamaica for sharing that with me, all right, so that I could share it with you guys. A reminder, coming up on June 1st at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on YouTube Live, and hopefully rebroadcast simultaneously on Facebook Live. I call it Day 1 because that's what June 1st is, and it'll be a special broadcast where I'm going to go over the different forecasts. This is going to basically be 3 segments. The forecasts from the various agencies, from well-known names, including NOAA and Colorado State University, Joe Bastardi, etc., to some lesser-known names by most people. Jim Williams at Hurricane City, even North Carolina State, well-known university, but how many people know that they put out a hurricane seasonal forecast? Florida State, also very well-known university, but, did you know that they do these seasonal forecasts? I'm going to talk about all of them, and then we're going to get into some of the things to look forward to from us this year, our technology, what we expect to accomplish, and then kind of wrap it up with a look at preparedness, what you can do. And I'm going to approach that from a different perspective. You got to remember, I have personally been in 24 hurricanes and several more tropical storms. It's getting to be where I can't remember them all. And I have seen a lot. And I have seen the mistakes that people make. I have felt their angst and I've gone back to visit them in the weeks and months and years after and seen how these hurricanes affect them. And we learn things, and we need to learn from those mistakes and then act upon them. And I think it's my responsibility, if I'm going to be in these hurricanes, to share what I have seen to try to help you avoid some of those same mistakes and learn something from that. So, probably 90 minutes, something like that. But it'll be well worth your time if you can tune in, if I do say so myself. If you can tune in live, that will be wonderful. 7 p.m. Eastern on our YouTube channel. I'll be talking about it a lot, of course, so you won't be able to miss it. And then, of course, it'll be in the archives forever and ever after that. All right, well, that's it from me for today. My voice barely hung on. Whatever this springtime allergy is from the pollen or whatever, boy, it's annoying. But I got through it today. I almost didn't. But anyhow, I'm done for now. I'll be back on Monday. This is Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. Thanks as always for tuning in, and we'll speak again on Monday.